Okay boys, today we're going to go over some tips from pro PvP players. And there's a lot of content creators in this video, it's going to be lots of fun. Hang on, what? No, Sawman, I said pros, not gankers, no, Sawman, no!
Oh hi, Doggo here. My pro tip for John is, if you are homeless, just buy a house. Oh wait, this is about the Elder Scrubs Online. How about? Don't bag a ganker. That shit will come back to bite you in the ass. Doggo out.
Alright, I got my video back. I tried to tell Sawman that this was for pros, but he just couldn't accept it and had to have his 2 cents. So, hey, it is what it is. And let's move straight into discussing my 2 pro tips. Now, the first one is not used very often with a lot of people, and this is your resource management was concerns to the actual tick. So a lot of people know the resource ticks every 2 seconds, but it does it on a regular, like on a consistent basis. So you can have a bar like we have here that will show you exactly when your tick's going to happen. So what that allows us to do is, say we could sprint and then stop sprinting just for that little second as we sprint. It's a little bit like back in those days, you know how you'd sprint on and off on a horse and you could keep more stamina. That's kind of the reason why that was happening back in the day. But this also allows you to block and continue to hold block and then just drop your block for that split second and continue on. It's a really good habit to get into. It can be a little bit tricky to start with, but you'll get the hang of it eventually, and that add-on is called Miat's Tick Tracker. Okay, for the next tip, we're going to discuss our food. And what I mean by this, a lot of people discuss this kind of stuff in their videos, but what I'm talking about here is running multiple food in combat. So you'll run your main stat food when you're normally in combat, and then when you start to get low on resources or you've got a small little breather, you can swap to a recovery food. Now I recommend using the max health and stam recovery or mag recovery, depending on if you're playing stam or mag, but you can also run other recovery foods. So basically this is going to give you, the benefits of running 2 foods in combat. You're going to have a lot of sustain when you need it, and obviously then you're going to have the max stat when you actually go into combat. Now you can use this while you're just playing defensively as well, especially if you're running the max health at stam. But generally I'll swap foods when I have like a 5 or 6 seconds where I can kind of just regen some stats. Now something that may help you here is Bandit's UI has in their controls, if you go to add-on controls, they allow you to keybind a button to each individual slot. So this allows you to single press key a slot and swap to it. It makes it a lot easier in combat. Anyway, they're my 2 pro tips. It will give you that little bit of an edge in PvP. And we will hear from Pelican next. He sent it over by Discord, so we'll use text-to-speech.
I'd say the only way to truly get good in PvP is to fight at a disadvantage. This can mean fighting outnumbered, whether it be solo or in a smaller group, dueling a stronger player, not getting carried by broken proc sets while others are etc. When you fight at a disadvantage, you are in a way forced to develop and familiarize yourself with better tactics, muscle memory and judgment which are needed to win such fights. While you will never be able to learn these skills by fighting easy mode for years, because you won't need to in the first place. You don't have to immediately start finding 5+ people to 1vx, try and wipe an entire faction in a 4-man or duel the strongest player on the server. I recommend working your way up the difficulty level. There is no shame in starting out PvP as that Zergling who sits at the back of a raid spamming the same 2 attacks over and over. You just have to eventually move up from there once you get the hang of it. I'd recommend this progression, which is also how I improved myself through PvP. Play in large, zone chat pug groups, follow and fight with them to familiarize yourself with basic PvP first. Start joining more organized groups, guilds, probably with voice comms too. By this time you should have made a few good friends, invite them to PvP with you in a smaller group. Maybe even lead some small rage/zone chat pug groups yourself when your main guild isn't running, etc. At this stage you can already start dueling some of the people in Storm/Alucard already. Try playing in groups of 2 to 4 now. Most of the fights you encountered will be outnumbered. You can just avoid the organized brawl groups with dedicated healers and voice ADM. Should be easily able to defeat pugs 1 to 2 now. Go solo occasionally, pick smaller fights first against easy opponents, can use a resource flag guard to aid you. Maybe note that you will probably be absolutely shat on when you first enter dueling LoL. Even if you're considered above average in Zero already. When I entered dueling I could already 1v5. And still got absolutely dumpstered the first few months. Thanks, and back to Johnny.
Alright, next up we're going to have a tip from Capn Crunch. Take it away, mate.
Hey there, it's Captain. The tip I've got for you guys is speed equals damage reduction. 3 Swift, Wild Hunt, and Major Expedition is more beneficial than wearing a tank set when you're fighting outnumbered.
And then we have a tip from Deltia's Gaming. I'll leave all these guys links to their channels and their Twitches in the description. Highly recommend you go give them a follow.
The next spot to look, and that's really important, is your buffs and debuffs. This is critical to taking this information in between looking at your resources, because it's going to determine what actions you take. So if we look at the still image here, the left-hand side, the red, the debuffs, the negative effects, the right-hand side, the green, the buffs, the good effects. So what you're trying to do as you advance as a player is to identify not only the number of negative effects on you, but the really impactful ones. So if there's a hard-hitting damage over time coming from the Dragon Knight, or a proc set, or an ability or something, you're going to want to cleanse those off priority with Extended Ritual as a Templar. Other classes do have some cleanses, or there is an Alliance War support skill line that you can do, but regardless, even if you don't have or use a cleanse, being aware of those negative effects on your bar can prevent you from dying, because you know for the next 7, 8, 5 seconds or so, I'm going to be taking a lot of pressure. It might behoove me to use a defensive ult, my tripod, or whatever I have. So train your eyes. Not only look at the resource bar, but you're also looking at those negative effects. That can increase your life a drastic amount.
Well, thank you for all the content creators that contributed to this video. Muchly appreciated. Highly recommend you guys go give them all a follow. I'll link their Twitch channels and YouTube channels in the description. And this video was fun. I enjoyed it. As I said, there will be a second one because there was a lot more guys that reached out to me, so keep an eye out for that. And if you can subscribe, that would be great. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subs at the moment. And yeah, if you have any other questions, feel free to catch one of my streams. I'll have my Twitch linked in the description as well. And peace.